Text classic to Luke. Yeah, man, he is just like shockingly unreliable. Yeah, it's the Football Yanks. We're back at it this week. I just got back from a happy hour that we were throwing, like end of year happy hour. The best happy hours last, go overtime. Like, people didn't want to leave.
I didn't know you liked everybody that much.
Oh my god, dude, you're gonna love this. Tessa is sick. So Luke can't make it.
Uh-oh.
Hold on, let me,
Yeah, we should probably address this in real time.
There's a response there. I'm gonna, like, think on it.
Marinate. Yeah, you want to let that marinate. You don't want to drop the ball here.
Yeah.
This is an easy triple.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, this one's set up well. Dude, lots to talk about. I don't even think we need to talk about games, like, specifically this week. There's so much
fuck
shit.
the games. That might have been a premise for this podcast at some point, but
yeah. What do you think is the most critical thing that happened this weekend? There was
this
a lot.
Past weekend.
Yeah. In all the.
It certainly wasn't my holiday party. That was a nothing burger. Oh man, I think
where did you guys have it?
The Westin at the airport, because that's what fit with the two equity, one of the two equity owners' schedules for the holding company.
Oh,
so apparently
yeah.
that's who they fly in from New York for this party for 45 minutes and then fly back. So it's important that we schedule it for them.
Airport holiday party, hell yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine they touch the food because it's not like
fuck no.
Like a pasta bar is a little bit beneath them. It's appropriate for me, but it's beneath
in
them.
their eyes. Yeah, good enough.
Yeah. In their eyes, that's what we deserve, right? For our poor performance for the year, but you know.
Was it a poor
open
performance?
bar's open bar, I guess. What's that?
Would you agree with that assessment that it was a poor performance?
I was being facetious. I don't know if I think they probably view it as a good performance. I don't know.
Okay.
I actually don't know. I actually don't even know the answer to that question because I don't care enough to even contemplate it, as bad as that is.
Isn't your role to turn the zeros into nines in the books?
Well, but it's just scorekeeping, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you just base it on financial performance, like not think about like what's in our control or out of our control, yeah, it's pretty bad. But all
right. I mean, that's what they don't care what's in and out of your control. They're a private equity firm.
No, yeah. Well, and it is interesting because we're incentivized on safety too, right? But as you know, and I can't talk about in detail on this podcast, I'm sure, but like, yeah, that metric's not helping my incentive for this year. That's fucking for sure. So,
yeah.
But so to answer your question, I mean, I think City laying an egg against United was just kind of the creme de la creme for me. But there were a lot of good moments mixed in there. Some good Yanks in the ranks content too. But what were you thinking? Was the highlight or the apex for the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, God, I wish Luke was here. For sure, a personal highlight was you having to do this revisionist history thing on your review of Diogo Jota in the Discord.
I forgot about that. That was barely even on my radar, but yeah.
Which I discussed with Luke yesterday. I had the pleasure of watching.
Luke doesn't remember shit, but I trust you. I don't care what Luke thinks he remembers.
I mean, we have all the transcripts. I would have to throw that into I'd have to download that and knock together a Python script and try to Or I guess I could just grab at that point, like looking for you talking about Diogo Jota and narrow it down from there. But yeah,
I mean, if I said he was like terrible, like that was out
I don't
of
think
turn.
you said he was terrible,
But like I stand by the fact that like I don't think he's great. Like I think he's okay. I think he scores goals that are scorable, you know. And I stand by the fact that I wouldn't pick him in the top 20 for Chelsea.
Yeah,
I think he has a role on this team, and I think there's a lot. But I think there's a lot of players that could have a role on Liverpool. When Darwin Núñez is like your first choice number 9 or was, I guess somebody got wise to the fact that like he's not very good either.
He's fun. He is fun.
He's entertaining.
Yeah,
he is. Yeah, he's fun and entertaining, I guess.
Yeah,
But kind of more like in a clown sense than like an actual like fun sense, I guess.
funny
I would say.
Funny like a fucking clown.
Yeah, exactly.
What movie is that? Like Goodfellas?
Goodfellas, yeah. And, you know, Darwin's the type of Neanderthal that if you said that to, like, he probably would just hit you because
with a chair.
Yeah, with a chair, because there's 6 brain cells between the 2 ears. But
yeah, so for the listeners, Derek is trying to walk back. So my comment was as Harvey Elliott and Diogo Jota are subbing into that match, I was like, I think I could hear a blood vessel pop in Derek's eyeball from here, from the other side of Baltimore. And then Jota scores the goal that draws them level with Fulham, who should have won this match.
Absolute shit defense on that play.
Yeah. Terrible defense, terrible game plan, with a man advantage, a deserved man advantage.
That ball through the middle beat what, like 4 or 5 people that should have been in across the midfield. I mean, yeah,
I would agree.
I thought Cole Palmer was out there passing that ball beat so many people.
Yeah, shambolic defense on that. I don't know. I thought Fulham had this one very, very early man advantage. Didn't do a whole lot with it.
True.
Team that's been like in pretty good form. Like I would have not felt great if I were in Liverpool's shoes, and the game plan was just like it gave Liverpool way too much respect for the fact that they had a man advantage. Like, they really needed to be taking the game to Liverpool.
They did get passive, especially in the second half, I think, to your point. But you know, I thought they did the right thing in the first half and like kind of hitting the gas there once that red was given. And squandered the chances. For me, it was bad finishing, bad decision making. They should have gotten one before the end of the first half, and that was really where I think they let this one slip.
Huge implications for several teams, really. Liverpool finally dropping some points. They had been on quite a tear, I think. And they still have a game in hand, so the gap is not as narrow as it might appear. They have a game in hand against Everton that was called off last week due to storms.
Yep.
Bizarre. I think we covered this last week. I don't remember, or you weren't here last week.
I remember you guys talked about it. Yep. Very rare. It was weird to kind of wake up and find that for the first game. So I'm glad they were able to play through the other stuff in the weekend.
If you look at the match momentum in this one, though, it's like, like you said, especially the second half, the end of the first half into the second half, just Liverpool. It would have been hard to determine from the eye test which team was playing with a man advantage.
Which is really unacceptable at this level and for a team of that.
I mean, expected goals, Liverpool 2.13 to Fulham's 1.22, and Robertson sent off in the 17th minute. And this is this is not an incapable Fulham side. This is a Fulham side that's been playing pretty well. It's a Fulham side that I am concerned as a Chelsea fan about facing in 2 weeks or whatever it is. I think we've got Everton next. But yeah, I mean, if you're in the mix at the top of the table, you like seeing Liverpool and pulling the table up now.
Yeah, you hate to see it, right?
Yeah.
It was a good weekend for us as Chelsea
they've dropped
fans.
points 2 weekends in a row. I forgot about that.
Yep. So Liverpool and Arsenal both dropping 4 points each last 2 games, getting nothing but draws.
Yeah, so that's great. Fantastic. Chelsea just keeps on winning.
5-game winning streak.
Yep. They're the only team. They're the only team that even is close. Like, Arsenal and Liverpool are as close. Like, they're the second and third, or tied for second forum team in the PL, and they've got 2 draws in the same 5-game span.
Are you finally just a chill guy willing to accept that we're in a title fight?
I guess, like, it depends on how you define it. So yeah, let's just like we'll just go straight into talking about Chelsea then. Chelsea 2, Brentford 1. Cucurella with a header, an incredible feed from Noni Madueke.
That dude was flying through the 6 looking for fucking headers like prime Christian Pulisic on the back post.
I think a story of this one in particular is how attacking forward I'm pulling up I'd love to see where Cucurella was positionally, like the heat map for him. But he seemed to be getting really involved in the attack. I mean, I guess the heat map, I've got it up now. It doesn't tell that story, but it felt like he was just like in the box a whole lot. Him and Sancho have like a really good partnership working out over there.
Yeah.
Another thing that I picked up on in this one is, and this is indicated by the heat map. So the game before this in the PL for Chelsea against Tottenham, they had Cole Palmer like working into the pockets on the right flank, the right side of the pitch. And Enzo was taking up that left pocket, and if you remember, Enzo scored that fucking banger from the left pocket. This match, they had Palmer taking up positions more on the left side of the pitch and working with Cucurella and Sancho quite a bit. And I think that what I like about this is that you're seeing a manager and a player who are working together to try to create opportunities for who is like one of the best players in the world. And while he didn't have a direct goal involvement in this one, his fingerprints were all over this game. I thought he played very well. I mean, he got a 7.8 on Sofa score without being in a goal involvement.
Yeah.
So that like kind of tells you just how much, I mean, he must have had 4 key passes is ridiculous. Completed 4 out of 5 long balls, 1 out of 2 dribble attempts succeeded, 3 out of 4 ground duels. Like, he just he's just going to be heavily marked, and he's going to have to learn to play that way. And I think he's doing it. People are going to see whether he scores or gets assists, but in games like this, he's every bit as impactful on the game. He's just like the pass before the pass, like he's very involved in the build-up. And
yeah, he got on the ball anytime he wanted in that space on the left.
Yep. And even Luke, who is a Tottenham fan and thus doesn't know anything about anything,
in a moment of clarity.
Yeah, he was commenting on just how much defensive work Palmer and Noni do. Yeah, I mean, he's just willing to do anything to win, and the whole team, like, it's a lot of fun to watch this team right now. Adarabioyo, I thought, had like a few shaky moments, but was largely very good. Stepping in there for Wesley Fofana, and I like to see him as the what the hell is that noise? I think. There. Yeah, it was another Discord noise. I'm just going to quit out of Discord.
Yeah, Tosin had a great game.
Tosin had a great game, and he's I guess Badiashile was injured in this one. And like picked up a knock in training. But like Tosin is right-footed, and I thought that Badiashile, a lot of what left him exposed in that Tottenham match is that he's left-footed and he was playing on the wrong side of center than he's used to, and it put him in a lot of unnatural passing positions based on what his like body of work would have informed him to be comfortable with, I guess. So yeah, the title race. I like Maresca he put into words, he synthesized how I feel about the chances that we have at a title perfectly in his post-match. And what he said was that teams that are actually in the title race don't allow that goal to be scored against them. And there are two things that to me point to how immature this team is. And one is the lack of clean sheets. Like, these guys are offensively insane right now, and they're just like outscoring the opposition. Did that against Tottenham, did that in this game. But defensively, there are these lapses. The maturity isn't there to like know how to not be broken on. And in this match, it was obvious that's what Brentford were going to try to do, and they were still able to do it. And champion caliber teams are not allowing stuff like that to happen. And that's effectively what Maresca said in his post-match. And then two, like, the number of yellow cards is crazy. Like Chelsea are far and away the number one for cautions in the PL. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I heard something like they have 17 more yellow cards than Arsenal, who are generally considered to be like a pretty undisciplined team in that regard. Another like fairly young team. And so like it happened in this one. Cucurella took another yellow after the whistle and will miss the next match for accumulation of yellows in a match. Stuff like that is just not it has to be ironed out, and like we're winning games now, and like, so if you look at the table, we're in a title race. We're the closest to Liverpool. If Liverpool drop points to Tottenham next week, we're like square. Like, we could end next week at the top of the EPL table, right? If Tottenham, or if Liverpool drop points to Tottenham, which is possible. Tottenham beat the bricks off of Man City a couple weeks ago. Like, it's such a like helter-skelter team. But yeah, I don't know. I don't believe this team can win a title yet. And it's not because of the quality of the players, it's just maturity. But yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts? What are your counters to that?
I mean, the goal, I think there's a motivational aspect to that, and I don't think it's a bad point. But I think from Maresca's standpoint, it's more posturing than anything else. For me, like, that goal didn't mean shit. The player discipline is tough. It's a bit triggering for me because I look at the landscape, and I guess I don't have it in front of me in terms of who's fouling the most. But the number of uncalled clear yellows, if not reds, in the Liverpool game. some of the other officiating things I'm seeing where people are being given, not given fouls or given fouls, I'm trying to think which game it was. There's been a number of games this weekend where, I thought there should have been accumulation yellows much more quickly for fouls, repeated fouls by the same player, that aren't being given out. And so to me, part of it's like, it's selective and it seems misdirected. But Chelsea probably have that label now, right? So they're going to be a target for it, and they've got to respond to that. I mean, I think that's a fair point. And you don't see Liverpool taking those kind of undisciplined fouls a whole lot, or cards. For them, it's it's more situational. Where this weekend it was the fact that the best left back in the Premier League was playing on the opposition, and one of the shittier ones was playing on the left for Liverpool.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think it's not to say that this can't be achieved by the end of the season. Like, I think that Maresca has done a phenomenal job to this point, and I wouldn't put it past him to iron these issues out of this squad by the end of the season. So for me, to my mind, it's like, how do we limit the damage between now and then so that we're in a position when when it really all comes together? Because we are, like, it does feel to me like we're limiting damage. Like, I just looked it up, we only have 3 clean sheets so far this season. And that's not, like, that doesn't feel like a championship.
Yeah, I think there's a broader point there. Like, strategically, our defense isn't up where Arsenal or Liverpool's is.
Yeah.
And part of that's the way we play and set up, to your point, some of it's maturity. But, like, at the end of the day, like, there's 2, if not 3 or 4, clearly better defenses in the league than us, which makes it tough when you want to put it all together to be a title winning team. Yeah,
I mean, it's Liverpool, Arsenal, Everton, Man United, Nottingham Forest, Newcastle, Tottenham have more clean sheets than Chelsea. That's great, especially the Tottenham one, because you watch Tottenham play and they just seem so vulnerable. And I don't think about Chelsea in the same way, but they have more clean sheets, and so that, like, yeah, that's what makes me hesitate to say that we're in a title race. It just doesn't look like a team that should win a title, but the league just remains sort of wide open.
Like, exactly. I mean, we're in it whether we think they should be or not, right? Yeah. Even if that's by virtue of results or play or whatever, right? And we don't have the hardest remaining schedule. And so I think this is going to be pretty exciting for at least a good bit here. Yeah. We don't have the hardest schedule through the end of this year. Like, we're fortunate in that. But we still have to play every team again, right? Like, for the back half of the season. And I mean, I wish we could have that City opener back. That sucks. Sucks that we're like one of the few teams that played them at full strength. I think I read some stat that since Haaland told whoever it was to stay humble. Yeah, Arteta. He's scored 2 goals since then or something like that in the PL. Yeah. I don't know. If he was, normally, a horse goes that numb, you just shoot it, right? Isn't that what they do? Yeah. Unfortunately, but for the horses, Yeah. Those guys are pretty broken, and I'm here for it. We talk about, like, our circle, like how certain people have gotten quiet about it, but there's part of me that can't help but smile just about the fact that, like, these guys have thumbed their noses at 115 charges and think it's all bullshit, and now it's not even. It doesn't even look like it's gonna. Maybe it makes it easier for them to take the medicine, but like they're not even in it to be complaining about that part of it.
Yeah. It I don't like. I forget what I said in the Discord when they lost this. So I mean, just to everybody knows at this point, City lost to Man United in like spectacular fashion. I was screaming in my house.
I mean, it did
so
require, the super sub of super subs to come on and gut this one out for United.
I have so many questions. I'm like really curious. So obviously you're talking about Antony. Antony comes on and the game changes, right? Is that what you're talking about?
I didn't know if he was in jail with Luigi or if he was in the team in the squad like until he showed up, and then he's just got that fucking look on his face like get ready for it, City, because I'm here now. There's a new sheriff in town.
So in the final, when was the first goal scored? The 88th minute. City lead from the 36th minute to the 88th minute, and controlled this game for the most part. I mean, what was? But
I think we've seen this script before, right? Like they can take possession and stuff, and. But with this current group, they have a lot of trouble breaking the line and getting through. And that was even with Doku starting, who I think that was a good plan. I think it was a good plan of attack with what Pep put out there, right? Like he goes at Doku, Foden, De Bruyne.
He threw the kitchen sink at this one.
Yep. Yeah, and he just had Gundogan kind of holding behind him. And I think I don't know. This is kind of something I've pushed for, is playing more 4-1-4-1, particularly for England too. But he kind of threw it at them, but they didn't have it. And in a sense, I think Haaland has been found out a little bit when like they're able to just focus on him and they can't ping across into him. He just doesn't get on the ball otherwise, right? And somebody more dynamic might find the way into the game differently. Just the kind of throwback number 9s where we've seen, Thierry Henry as an example, right? They would get on the ball one way or another, go into different positions to pick it up. He doesn't do that, and like that's his game. But you see, I mean, this is going to be the result until they figure something else different out.
I don't know what they do.
And then, like, on the backdrop of that, right? Like, I think it's worth talking about, like, on one hand, I feel bad because, whether we want to go into how much detail I want to go into, but there's been a lot of they've highlighted a lot of the racial abuse that Walker's received the last couple of weeks, which is
Did you see that hate crime that Højlund committed?
Yeah, exactly. Well, right, and so it's like, so like
I
hate to say you make yourself a target, but because it's so wrong, like the way he was attacked in terms of social media, but it's disappointing to then see the guy respond with, not really respond, right, but to see this kind of overshadow like what we should be focusing on, which is like him being abused by his own fans in a lot of cases. Instead, the attention turns to just complete fuckery on a scale that I don't know if I even recall seeing this, not much less in the Premier League anywhere else this season.
I'm even more cynical. I think I'm like a step more cynical than you about all of this. And I think, I mean, I would never know. So, like, I think that I would never know for sure, right? But let me walk you through my logic here. I think that like all these players in like the post-social media world are subjected to, especially if they're minorities, they probably get some absolutely horrifying things sent to them, and it shouldn't happen. It's a problem. We see it with Vinny a lot. Rudiger, like people making monkey noises at him at stadiums while he was at Chelsea. We had to deal with that. I'm certain. I think it's happened to Rashford. Like all of these players who are minorities or like, just are minorities. Like I'm certain that there's just awful shit coming from fans and enemies in their social media, and it felt really inauthentic that in this moment they addressed frankly, especially Kyle Walker, like he is a piece of shit of a human being.
Yeah, I was gonna use that as a backdrop too. Right? Like, it's not that I just don't like him. Like, he's objectively just not a good person.
He's a horrible piece of shit. Fuck, I hate Kyle Walker, and there's got to be other people out there who feel that way and will go racist on him. Like he'd be far more of a target even than average, right, for all of his other actions. And so there, I just like cynically, I'm like, I don't believe that this has never been an issue in the past. And again, cynically, I'm like, they chose this moment to cart this out into the press.
I'm hopeful from a positive, like putting a positive spin on my mind. I'm hopeful that it's not always a problem. It's not as pervasive as you suggest. But I don't disagree. I think it's very possible that's the reality of it, right? And like we hear about 1% of what goes on.
Yeah, well, I mean, like look at what Mexico does every time we play them, and the like what Bentancur did and what Enzo Fernandez did, and like what we know the fans do. Like there's like this stuff is just constantly happening, and so it just felt really opportunistic to me that City, like, that he posted this and then City like came to his defense. It felt like orchestrated to me. It made like Synapse fire, this like cynical like well, I don't like, this doesn't smell right to me.
I think there's a bad vibe. I would put it this way: there's a bad vibe or environment around the whole team right now. I think that's become really self-evident, and like it's been surprising to me like how widespread it's been, like to see Pep kind of unraveling publicly the way he is. Like he's the only one I really feel for to some extent in this situation. Because I think he legitimately is torn up about it. I think he's gotten he's not the type to walk away from a problem, and I think that's his problem.
It's driving him insane.
Yeah, I think you got to know when to cut loose at some point. Something I've learned in the last couple years of my life, right? Like, he's letting them dig a hole deeper and deeper for him, and the hole's enveloped everybody on this team now, right? You've seen Vardy all get benched at times. You've everything with Walker. Silva's over here fuming after the game, even though he didn't do shit. De Bruyne, I don't. It's tough to guess because we never hear De Bruyne actually speak, because his leadership skills are such that he makes it through 20 minutes of a Champions League final. But
dude, he destroyed his hamstring.
When I first thought about that, I was thinking about what Rudiger took him out of the game.
Rudiger cratered his face in.
I'm being a little bit harsh on De Bruyne here, but he's a leader on this team, right? Haaland is a leader on this team. I don't know what the fuck he does, and Foden's just clearly like broken at this point. I don't know. Doku, I'd say, was probably the only one that I saw out there like trying to actually break through here. And that's without even talking about Grealish still somehow being on this team in the periphery, right?
God, like they destroyed Jack Grealish.
He's got I forget. I'm gonna have to pull up the stats, but like there is an argument to be made that like he's just as bad a flop as Antony is.
Yeah.
at this stage, given his performance over the last 18 months, I guess. But
I mean, they acquired him and then won the quadruple. So
true.
yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
think
I think
equivalency
you'd have to
there.
looking at it over the short term, I guess is what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
yeah, because he was a value to them at some point. But anyways, yeah, this I don't know where the bleeding stops for City at this point.
Yeah, as I've been like marinating on this throughout the day today, I wanted to like you called this out as like a glaring issue, the lack of depth at City. I think before this season even started, and I didn't disagree with you, but I was like Pep's idea is that he wants to keep the squad small because his tactics are like there's such a precision to what he wants to do on the pitch. It's why Grealish is so boring now. He just like ironed out any joy from his football. Pep is all about control, and the best way to exert the level of control that he wants on a match is to have a very small, tight squad. And with the schedule being such that it is, like, I think increasingly every year, every like Club World Cup they add to the mix, like the viability of his approach to this is diminishing year over year. And like, I don't know, man, Chelsea's squad building's looking pretty intelligent at this point. Like, they've got injuries too, but they've got a good backup.
Well, yeah, like
every position.
They've got actual people that'll come in and generate goals, not Savinho coming off the bench, right? And and coming back to, like, you know, your point about Jota, right, and Harvey Elliott, like those are guys that have come off the bench and create some offense at least. Like these guys aren't even good enough to get in the game in a lot of cases, or if they're there, they're not doing anything. It's crazy.
So, like, just to drive this point home, I mean, these are big injuries, but, like, the injuries that Guardiola is dealing with right now are Ake, Oscar Bob, and Rodri. And then, I guess for this one, it said Stones, and Stones was on the bench.
He was on the bench. So where you're going with this is you don't think Oscar Bob is the missing piece that's screwing them over at the moment. Yeah, that's a bit of a leap, but I'll go with you there.
Here's what I'll say. I think that Rodri is going to play hardly any football this calendar year, and because he'll be recovering from this injury, and I think that if you make a case from subtraction from this team, you could argue that Rodri should win the Ballon d'Or again, because his absence from this team will have effectively just destroyed a treble-winning team.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit more to it than that, but certainly, like, it does back up or put to rest some of what the naysayers had to say about him winning. I would agree with that part.
Yeah.
What the hell else have been in the Premier League?
Sorry, I was just confirming something that I said while recording a podcast. But yeah, I wanted to cover which we kind of did, but Højlund didn't like a tackle or an action taken against him by Walker, and like let him know that he was not stoked about it, and Walker did this like incredible flop. And my favorite part of that whole sequence is that in the lead up to it, I had watched Walker make a couple mistakes, and I was like, I fucking hate Kyle Walker. I went on the rant I just went on a few minutes ago, and Luke was like, you just hate all former Tottenham players. You hate Pochettino, like, and I was like, I was like in the middle, I think, of my case of like why Walker is a piece of shit, and then he did that, and even Luke had to be like, that was ridiculous. Like that's such a bad look for Walker. So that was good. I was happy that he like made the case for me in a way. Mason Mount couldn't happen to a better person. I hope he spends the rest of his career subbing on and getting injured within 5 minutes. I hope that he is in his own personal hell where he walks onto a pitch and immediately takes an injury. There are few players that I like root for injuries, and Mount is like in that category. And then Diallo, got very lucky in ways. Nunez, who was playing fucking wing back in this one, like left back for whatever reason. I think in both, you could make the case for sure in the penalty, him coming back and just needlessly lighting Ahmad up. One of the most insane things I've seen. Like Ahmad was dead to rights. Like he was not going to score. Ederson had it covered, and Nunez just had to make him a little uncomfortable, and instead he just detonates.
Yeah,
him.
Nunez just came out from the fucking top rope, just yeeted him in the atmosphere.
Absolutely insane. I couldn't believe what I was watching, and then I thought it was going to end in a draw, and then I think it was a pass from Martinez. Phenomenal pass, outbound or outball to Diallo, who takes a wonderful touch and does just enough. I imagine he didn't. I think it was Vardiol. He megged. Maybe it was Diaz. And then Nunez, not a defender, doesn't get back. Doesn't get to the line to clear that ball off the line. He's just standing there because he doesn't know what to do in that scenario. And so Nunez with an absolute, he's going to have nightmares about this match. And Diallo, I don't know, a star is born for Man United in this one. And he did it, he took his chance in a game where Rashford and Garnacho were dropped for two different personal reasons.
Supposedly.
Which I guess, yeah, I heard a little more about supposedly Garnacho has been leaking the lineups for whatever reason, and so he was dropped because he was caught in that. And then there are rumors that Rashford, his personal life is getting in the way of his performance and ability to show up for this team. And I think he's going to get sold. He may get sold in January. We talked about this last week a bit. They need to raise funds. And Rashford's the obvious, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like there's finally a coach in there who's actually ready to take action, right? And maybe that's the difference here. But granted, you could have brought a Mr. Potato Head doll in to do a better job than Ten Hag, but it's clear that there's going to be some changes that have already been made by Amorim, and they're going to continue through next two transfer windows, which is a long time coming.
Yeah. Dude, Mason Mount, I'm looking at his value on transfer market.
I think and so I don't hold the same level of vitriol I do for Mount that I do for Jota and Elliott, because I'm not objective, I'm just subjective. Objectively, I should hate Mount more, but I do think Mount's career is over. That's my sense. I don't think I think he had a very he was a very good fit for what Chelsea was doing at the time. I think it inflated his value, and now he's getting hurt constantly on top of that, and he's at a bottom, literally a bottom feeding team outside of this result. Maybe this leads to some momentum for United. I don't think that's actually going to happen because I don't think they have the players for it, and they have a lot of roster problems. But and maybe Mount comes good elsewhere. But I think at minimum he's done at United. I don't see it being a fit.
Yeah, I don't care. I just hope nothing but misery for Mason Mount. I really hate the guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind if he never makes it back into the England team.
I don't, dude. Fucking forget about England. Where the hell is he going to play in England? You know how stacked England is in the positions that he wants to take up. I don't.
Well, I hear that every World Cup cycle, but then I see the result. But anyways, yeah, dude, I think you're right. You're right.
Come for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. As it stands today, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah. I like Amorim. We talked about this last week. I hope that United fans are like, this was a big result, an undeserved result. You should realize that like this was not a result that you like. Neither team played well.
I don't think I'd go further. I'd say I don't think the fan base deserved this result. I think they deserve to lose every game the rest of the campaign. I don't think they deserve a coach of the caliber of Amorim. I don't think they deserved a new owner. I don't think they deserve for things to get better, given their apathy towards the Antony and Greenwood situations, especially. But yeah, I think you guys are right. I think he is going to turn things around here.
He needs years, though. It's not. Yeah. There's no quick fix here. They don't have many sellable assets. This is a guy with an idea. He already has a team playing better. They're simple tactics, but he's drilled them to like keep a shape and go through the gears already.
I mean, shit. This guy just beat Manchester City with a defensive backline that included De Ligt and Maguire. I mean,
De Ligt is fucking terrible. Dude.
Yeah, I mean, after this game, he should be the coach of the year candidate. You know?
Yeah. All right, let's look at the rest of the fixtures. I mean, we should talk about the Wolves stuff that happened.
I thought you're going to the bottom of the table. Okay.
Where did you want to go? I mean, Palace beating the shit out of Brighton is a big result.
I don't think Wolves losing was news. Who did they? Yeah, even to Ipswich, I don't think. I mean, the Wolves are just fucking pathetic. The Cunha thing's a terrible look for the Premier League. I think he's toast for the rest of the month. The rest of the winter probably he'll have a lengthy suspension. And I think they're right to fire the coach after like all that bullshit. And frankly, I don't know. I don't know enough about. That was Gary O'Neill that got fired, right?
Yeah,
I don't know enough about him, but I don't know that he deserved to be in as shit a situation as Wolves is at this point. Like, I think Wolves just need to get relegated and stay down. What's that?
Who the fuck wants this job?
I was thinking, like, this is one of those things where, like, normally you would just, like, if it was the NFL, you would go recruit somebody and pay him, like, an astronomical amount of money to go do this. But, like, money. They're going to get relegated, so they can't afford that either, right? So, like, I think they're going to go down. They're going to have trouble getting a coach. I think they're going to be down for a while.
Yeah. This has been a long time coming, and, I mean, I don't exactly have any real allegiance to Gary O'Neill, but I thought that what he did with this team last season was pretty spectacular. I expected them to be relegated last season.
Yeah.
And he kept them up, and his reward was they sold off critical pieces.
After having done it the prior 2 seasons before.
Yeah.
As well. And this is, I think it's a good example of like teams that don't reinvest, right? Like, that's kind of what stood out to me.
Yeah, and he can't even, like, the tactics that kept them up last season, he literally doesn't have the players to do it.
Yeah.
They sold off the defensive pieces that he was using to stabilize things, and I don't know. I think that I was reluctant. I thought they had a puncher's chance because of O'Neal. It's over. Like they're getting relegated. I couldn't be more convinced that they're getting relegated, which is, I mean, I guess exciting. It probably means that we're a lock to keep Leicester up, and we talked about that fucking psycho at Leicester last week. I think that the league is better when Leicester's in it. So
yeah, I would agree with that. Wolves
and,
are doing nothing for the Premier League.
Yeah. And, then, I mean, we talked about Arsenal drawing and dropping points and its impact for Chelsea.
How about that Forest win over Villa?
Oh, God, how could it? Dude, that was one of the best fucking games I've seen all season.
Yeah.
That was so much fun. One of the best saves I've ever seen. Did you see the save that Martinez made?
That was was that the point blank header from like the middle of the sixth?
I think that's right. And oh my God, it was like this behind the back. He had to make like the most delicate touch on the ball to not like shove it back out into the mess in front of him. Like he basically like lightly palms this ball enough for it to not go into the net behind his back, and then recovers it. And his reward is that he like fucking Forest put 2 more in on him. And yeah, I mean, my thoughts around this, like, one, these were 2 teams that really came in it feeling like it was just so much fun because both teams were playing to win. Both of these teams believe that they believe that they could win this. They're both fighting for a top 5 spot. Forest, their transfer policy and plan is working out. Like, people
we thought it had fucking failed miserably. Yeah, I thought it was all fucked up after talking it up for like 6 months, and then it finally just magically comes fucking good one day.
Yeah, I don't recognize Nuno. His tactic, like, I don't know what happened to this guy when he went to Saudi Arabia. I don't know if he just like, yeah, I don't know. This is not like it's not the Nuno I remember. Like, he historically, my memories of him is that he was this like very like defensive minded coach, and like Forest are a lot of fun to watch as
I think part of it's the players, right? Like you've got this attacking group that includes Cho and Gibbs White and Wood.
Dude, Gibbs White was so good in this game.
You got Alonga coming on as a sub, right, and winning this one.
Yeah,
extra time.
And that meant so much to him. If you like hadn't watched any fixtures this weekend and you could only watch one, this is the game. This is the match you should watch. Forest are in top 4 now. Is that right? EPL table. I think they're in the top 4. Yeah, they're 4th. Yeah. I mean, this season,
I think an equal storyline here is kind of the downfall of Villa too, right? Like, not only them underperforming relative to last season in losing this one, but Duran now starting over Ollie Watkins in this one. And they like really seem like they're searching for answers. To be sitting behind Bournemouth, I don't think is where they wanted to be.
No.
Or
the
those
Bournemouth
Forest
are good,
right?
Man.
Like they envisioned themselves those being teams that they'd easily be ahead of.
I mean, there is an adjustment period to competing in the PL and in the Champions League, and I feel like most people I listen to predicted Villa to sort of struggle with the schedule management a bit this season, but they're good. Like, the PL is so much fun, man. Bournemouth is good. Like, Bournemouth is value for the position they're in on the table, in my opinion. It's just like this season is so much fun, and it's not just because I'm a Chelsea fan and we're finally doing well. That contributes, like just because it creates even more.
No, it's been interesting, right? Like things have shuffled a lot. Newcastle down in 12th, United not so much of a surprise, but West Ham being down in 14th, Tottenham being 10th, Brighton dropping out of that. Brighton was top 3 at one point recently, right?
Yeah,
not long ago.
Brighton. Yeah, they were. Yeah.
Down in 9th now, right?
Yeah.
Fulham ahead of them. It's very, very competitive where the table's at. I think it does make for an interesting rest of the season. Maybe outside of the bottom 3, which look like they're kind of stuck there at the moment. Which is weird to say that's kind of how it's cemented, but that's kind of how I hope it plays out, as those 3 go down. Yeah. And like Tottenham's still scoring, so like they're gonna win games against shittier teams. They're not gonna. They're only the only good team they're gonna beat is City at this point, clearly. But
yeah, I asked. Luke didn't have to. We didn't have to like. I asked Luke if Ange would be sacked if he lost that game this weekend, and we didn't have to speculate on that reality for very long because they that manager, I forget his name, at Southampton,
Russell Martin,
he was making $4 million a season, and he walked off the pitch before halftime. I mean, that he just had to be sacked at that point for sure. Let's cover Yanks in the ranks. You had some stuff to roll through. I haven't eaten. I need to eat food.
I think the main punchline here is in the word, as Luke would put it, Landon Donovan and a lot of them can derelict my balls. And derelict my balls. I said delict my balls after. I don't know. I think we were talking about United City.
Yeah.
But just for effect, right? This is my Reyna kit that my good friend Ryan here got me last year. And I want to re-emphasize that there's been a lot of talk in the last week from Donovan talking about his context here about how some of these players probably should have been playing in the MLS instead of sitting on the bench. Namely, he talks about Reyna. Reyna proceeds to score a fucking banger. What was it, 5 minutes or less into the second half of the Dortmund game over the weekend. He started midweek, as you pointed out. Who the hell were they playing? That was a big game, and I forgot who it was now. But
Barcelona.
Yes, against Barcelona, right? So, I think before even that happened, I was going to go on some kind of a rant about what bullshit this is to hear this from Lawless and Donovan, and Twellman, I guess, got in on it too. Dempsey kind of said that he disagreed with Donovan, which I appreciated. I'll say that I was always a Dempsey fan, not necessarily a Donovan fan. I think, Donovan's kind of shown his true colors the last couple of years, whether it's talking about rooting for Mexico or any of this other bullshit. But the reality is you've got a bunch of guys that never will be as good as the guys on this current team, other than maybe Dempsey. But Pulisic, Robinson, Weah, Reyna, all are better players than Landon Donovan ever was.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of people who would disagree with that statement, but
maybe their careers don't go as well, in totality, but I take that as a self-evident truth at this point, personally. And so, on top of the Reyna goal, you saw Weah actually assist it to McKennie for what was a world-class combination goal to put Juve up 2-0 over City in the Champions League midweek. So just good stuff. Pulisic, is actually, I think he was hurt again midweek, but is up for getting like a top 5 contract now for AC Milan as part of an extension there. So I think there's a lot of good news all around, and I'm kind of at the point where I don't give a shit what any of these pundits really have to say outside of like, I actually don't know if I care about what any of the American analysts have to say out of like Stuart Holden, right? To me, Stuart Holden's the only one that was ever good enough to like talk at us about what it means to play in the MLS versus Europe or the like.
Yeah, totally agree. No comments. no notes. Yeah, I do. I think that it's hard to conceptualize with like in sports in general, but like the level of soccer at the United States and even really in the world has it's gone up. It's a different world than when Donovan was playing, and he was an anomaly for the time for the US, but this group is the best group of players we've ever had by a considerable gap, to my mind. And that includes like Dempsey, who I also love. Like, it was a different era, and those guys were not as like they were not as skilled or even as accomplished as like Pulisic's a Champions League winner.
Yeah. Yep.
And like many of these other players have won their leagues at their respective clubs. Yep. And so like it's not like there's been progress here. It's not like our team is doing better year over year.
Yeah, and I think it's trying to shade away from like the narrative around the MLS, but like the reality is I don't give a shit what goes on in the MLS. Yes, the best soccer player in history plays in the MLS, but it doesn't fucking matter because the matches still aren't entertaining. That same team got knocked out in the first round of the MLS Cup.
I wouldn't know.
It's just not. It's not comparable, right? And hopefully it gets there. But I think the positive here is because these players have had so much success in Europe. It's continuing to open up opportunities for more young players to go over there that are willing to take the risk. You get into the whole this cost benefit of like, going there versus just focusing on education here or anything else. But like my sense of it is that they're getting just as much education, if not a better structure around their education going to these actual programs as opposed to like, some of the people that like what I saw in high school or what I think it's like in terms of just like traveling.
Especially after the Trump admin gets their hands on the Department of Education. Get the fuck out of here. Get over there.
Exactly.
Whatever Barcelona's teaching them is at least something at La Masia.
Yeah, those countries have departments of education in schools, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, as you see here, we don't call them schools; we call them target ranges. But anyways,
same day joke. Got
Yep.
it.
Yeah.
Got him.
Well, yeah. Womp womp womp.
Yeah. Somebody I didn't even like see like that didn't even come across my news feed, and I was like, CEOs, not children. Like healthcare CEOs. Like,
I was gonna say that's a nice segue into what I missed last week. So. I was absent from the show. I'm sure that was notable to everybody. I'm sorry for that you had to put up with Luke without me. But I was in New York City, which is obviously a weird place to be last weekend. But a fun time regardless. But yeah, I think given the whole the UHC thing, I would echo what I think Ryan's sentiments were, which is, I'm not gonna. I feel no sympathy for this fucker. I feel no sympathy for his family. Life's full of choices, and this guy made his, right. I don't know that I'm willing to go. I've given it a lot of thought, and I think there is the importance of rule of law, right? And I don't think that having a massive copycats here is a positive. I worry about we talked about it after the election. I worry about the backlash from the working class and the resurgence of kind of this eat the rich campaign. And the recognition of affluenza that exists in this country. But I don't think that spiraling out of control is going to be a positive for how things are handled. But yeah, I mean, certain people close to me have said how sad this was that this happened. I don't see it as sad at all. I could give a shit.
I just don't think about it, and not in a avoidance way. It just I was just, I don't know. There are two. This isn't a political podcast. There are two articles that I've sent to people who have reached out to me about it, and one is some banker investor guy a decade ago. He wrote article an op-ed titled "The Pitchforks Are Coming for Us Plutocrats."
Yeah. And
I remembered reading it 10 years ago and thinking yeah, this is unsustainable. And more recently, the owner of Cartier, the jewelry and watch company, he was giving a speech or something, and he said in that speech that the idea of an uprising of poor people keeps him up at night.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, people are fed up.
the fuck up.
Yeah. And I agree. The answer shouldn't be vigilante killing.
Yeah.
But it just I also don't blame people for feeling we're at that
disenfranchised
point.
or marginalized or forced into it. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Positive note from New York though. I did but we were inevitably my uncle and I were up earlier than everybody else because on vacation some people actually sleep and get rest. Beyond the 8 hours that I guess is all I need. But so we realized that the Premier League was about to come on. I wasn't prioritizing it because it was a weekend in New York, but it's yeah, it'd be cool if we found a bar to watch the Premier League. And so the City playing, who was City playing in that one?
I don't know who that would have been.
Who did they draw to? Was that an Everton draw?
No.
Right?
I can look it up.
That's what I got it here. Oh, Crystal Palace. Yes,
that
was a pretty good game against Crystal Palace. From Crystal Palace's standpoint, especially, right? But City's staggering line. Anyway, so he finds this place called No One Home, which turns out to be basically a purpose-built, for the most part, Premier League bar. Opened by among others, former U.S. men's national team player Kyle Martino. And so there's another social story that goes along with this that I shared with you, I think, via text. But
we have a new fan in Australia.
Yeah, exactly. We met some interesting people, but outside of that, an awesome place to catch a game. It's kind of like this kind of throwback in that there's a lounge area, but it also has TVs, the Premier League, well-equipped kitchen and bar and everything. So I encourage the listeners, if you happen to be in New York, the island of Manhattan, it's right around the Bowery, kind of between the Bowery and Chinatown. It's this nondescript staircase that you wouldn't know. You one of those places in New York that's basically unmarked. You have to know it's there. But really nice inside, a great place to catch a game. Super friendly bartenders. They gave us a tour of the other floors of it that weren't open to the public in the morning. So was able to catch some Premier League during my vacation as a quick respite from walking 8 miles a day around Manhattan, and a good place to start drinking at 10 a.m. Because obviously that's important whether you're on vacation or not in my life.
I'm not about that life anymore, but yeah.
Well, I don't think Shannon would sanction that on your part, so yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I think that was it. That was it for me.
Word. That's it's a late one. It's a Monday. I got to get this edited today, but thanks for tuning in. And great weekend. Really, almost any fixture you could you could tune into if you got a backlog. This was a good weekend for a neutral to check out some PL.
Yeah.
Especially that Villa game. Man, that was a fun game. We'll catch you guys next week. Until then, come hang out with us on the Discord. We're always chopping it up in there. Would love to see some more people in there. But thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
All right.